going on, America? This is Kevin from Kevin's Corner, where I try to make sense out of nonsense. And you know why these videos keep coming? It's because the fake, phony, crooked, stinking, nasty, dirty, disgusting, pea stain, doo-doo brown, y'all, doo-doo brown, y'all, doo-doo brown, dumpster juice, boo-boo suit wearing, gangrene, snagger tooth, pepper tooth, peanut butter tooth, no tooth having, liberal media and the Democrats keep supplying me with an overwhelming amount of, guess what? Nonsense. So let me turn on my light, because see, I like to make sure I can see what I'm doing. Okay, now, check it out. I just witnessed a little segment from MSNBC. But remember now, before I let y'all hear this, they don't hate the president. I mean, they're fair and balanced. They don't have an agenda. They're not state TV propaganda. But listen to what this commentator does and says as I destroy him and his little peanut head dude that's on there pushing this same narrative. This is all about Donald Trump and his fascism. Donald Trump's a fascist. Y'all ready for this? Okay, so now before we get into this, well, you know what? I'll show y'all back. I'll show y'all later. Okay, let's read it. Listen.
One of the president's displays of authoritarianism. I'm joined by Marcia Gesson, a staff writer at the New Yorker, who you'll recall wrote a piece called Autocracy, Rules for Survival 2 days after Trump was elected this week. Piece I mentioned earlier, Donald Trump's fascist performance. And Masha, I want to read back just, and you also have a new book called Surviving Autocracy, which is about this theme. I want to read to you this paragraph from your latest, because it captured a thing that I've been struggling to say all week.
Okay, so whoever this guy is, I don't even know who he is. Let me see. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All of them are the same over at MSNBC. Some guy with some glasses right there. Nerd, let's get him. Anyway, let's listen to what he has to say, that this man on this other screen here captured the words that he's been trying to say all week. Could it be the normal stuff? Hitler, Diablos, the devil, KKK member, white nationalists, probably one of those. Let's continue.
And the reason I've been struggling to say it is because there's two things at play here. There are these frankly terrifying images of authoritarianism and authoritarian impulses commanded by a man who is so weak and pathetic and such an...
But they're not biased. So these horrible, frightening images of authoritarianism and all of those militarism, all of that, worse than the horrible images of windows being broken out, buildings set on fire. How about the police officer lying on the sidewalk, bleeding out, as one of these so-called peaceful protesters shot him as they filmed his body? How about the horrible image of the one gentleman who was simply trying to defend his wife from getting beat up by these peaceful protesters with a golf club? What about the horrible image of the Asian man that was trying to stop them from tearing up his store, and they ended up beating him so bad we don't even know what happened to him? We don't know about it. How about the horrible images of all of the black people who don't have stores to go to in their own neighborhoods, all because Antifa and so-called this organization who claims they're supporting black people, Black lives, as they destroyed black people's neighborhoods and property. And then these real black people who were the recipients of all of this stuff that y'all are promoting and supporting got on TV, but of course you're not going to show that on your programs, but got on TV and cried and wailed and described what took place, how these peaceful protesters did not discriminate whose houses they set on fire, whose buildings they tore up and bricks they threw windows through. They didn't discriminate. Everybody, including the same black people that they were protesting for, were victims. But this guy, he's upset about the horrible, bone-chilling visual of law and order, of force, strength, and might to let these people that's creating anarchy and chaos know what would happen to y'all if y'all don't simmer down. Okay, that's how I saw it. I saw that as your parents pulling out the belt. You acting a fool and all of that. And they just pull it out and show it to you like, you see this? And you get the hint real quick, okay? So, just in case you get it twisted, I don't want to have to get up, come over there and tear you up. But you see? You see that? The visual? You get it? All right, good. See, you got it. Now you're going to sit down somewhere, right? But this guy thinks that's fascism. And then he goes and gets personal. Listen to him. He's weak. He's incompetent and all of that stuff. As I sit in my office, but President Trump became president, as I get paid maybe millions of dollars to get on here and spew all of this propaganda, as President Trump became a billionaire, okay? After going bankrupt several times, flipped it, made it, and all the way back from that, and became a billionaire, but he's incompetent and he's this and that. Let's listen to the rest of this. I have to rewind a little bit of that to hear all of his personal feelings about Trump. Listen.
Images of authoritarianism and authoritarian impulses commanded by a man who is so weak and pathetic and such an incompetent doofus that it can...
Okay, now, you have to realize anything that appears to be able to stop their global agenda, their liberal agenda, all they do is slap the worst titles on. See, authoritarianism. These peaceful protesters up in Michigan, they were protesting to make sure that they're able to practice the First, Second Amendment and have their right to work a job and not be confined to their house. Those peaceful protesters, what can we call them? Racist. Those people up there, white nationalists. They're white nationalists. And KKK members, even though we didn't see any proof of that, but trust us, just because those people weren't supporting our agenda and they represented America's freedom and sovereignty, the only thing we can do is take advantage of our weak, raggedy audience and make them believe just because these people don't support our agenda, then obviously they're racist. They're white nationalists. Their motives are going beyond what they're telling you. Okay. Not like these peaceful protesters who are hurting the same people they're claiming to protect, but yet they're telling you their motive is fighting against racism as we destroy black people's property and hurt black people. Let's continue.
It can be hard to take seriously. And so this is what you said. Trump is now performing his idea of power as he imagines it.
Okay.
In his intuition, power is autocratic. It affirms the superiority of one nation and one race. It asserts total domination.
Whoa. Those are big words, buddy. Back up, little skinny man. This man said, Trump is now performing his idea of power as he imagines it. Now, he's a psychologist, obviously. He's in Trump's head. He says, in his intuition, power, and autocratic, it says, it affirms that the superiority of one nation and one race. Did Trump say anything about that? Did he say anything about one race? Or is this bum using something called propaganda by inserting words that Trump never said? I don't recall many times Trump even making a speech that has anything to do with race. But this guy, I mean, he's just assuming, but, he can do that on these channels. It says, it asserts total domination, not preventing riots and crime and innocent people becoming victims of an angry mob. That's not what that means. It means that I'm just about to show total domination for no reason. Everybody was peaceful. The streets were peaceful. People was out there singing, I like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. They was out there just having a good time, minding their business. And Trump said, bring in the tanks, bring in all the planes, light them up. That's what Trump did. But let's hear the rest of this. Total domination. And it mercifully suppresses all opposition. That's what he's doing? Okay. All right, let's listen to some more of this propaganda.
Suppresses all opposition. Whether or not he is capable of grasping the concept, Trump is performing fascism. What does that mean?
What does it mean?
I've tried not to use the word fascism to describe Trump,
but
in part, not because it's not appropriate, but in part because it's a word that is slippery, that we throw about too much. But it's time that we use this word. And the reason it's time is because Trump is so clearly deploying the visual and rhetorical symbols of fascism.
Now y'all hear that? I'm hesitant, as I did use the word in my op-ed, hesitant to use the word fascism because it's such a slippery slope. But it's that time. It wasn't time to use that before he was elected, even though they all did. It wasn't time to use it for the first 3.5 years, every day on the news, all the time we hearing it thrown out there. It wasn't the time then, but this time he's gone too far. Now I really mean it. This is the perfect example of it. So what I decided to do is say, you know what, before we just buy into this man's op-ed and just trust that he's the, leading authority on fascism and what Trump thinks, let's go ahead and read what fascism is. Okay, let's see. It is a political philosophy or regime, such as the one of the fascists. It says that that exalts nations and often race above the individual, and that stands for centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader. That is a little more. Now, as I'm reading this, it seems to fit the description of Antifa, of the Democrats, of what the liberal media is pushing for. So, political philosophy, movement, or regime, such as that of the fascists, that exalts nation. Okay, now they ain't not big with that. But see, here's where it starts to get saucy. Nation and often race above individuals. Now, that's pretty interesting because I don't recall Trump getting up there mentioning race. I don't recall Trump always making speeches that divide the country based off of your race. He might get up and make speeches based off of your behavior or groups of people's behavior, those type of speeches. But you know who really works hard to make sure we are conscious every second of racial divide in our country? The Democrats, the liberal media. Those people divide us up by race. And then it goes on to say, and often race above the individual. See, remember, you're not an individual. When you vote, you should vote based on whether I'm Latino and I'm listening to them tell me I got to vote this way because all of those other people that's giving out policies that we should all individually decide whether they make sense or not, even though their policies might make sense. The overriding factor that makes me say I'm going to vote for this funky, nasty, dirty Democrat politician who don't have any good policies is the fact that they've been telling me all of them hates Hispanics. Same thing with black and the rest of them. Now, look at this. It also says, for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader. You mean like the leaders of the Democratic Party who says, unless you don't bend the knee, and all of these Democrats and commentators and all these Antifa folks that said it's either my way or the highway, that's attacking folks, beating folks up that disagree with them, calling everybody a Russian who don't buy into their propaganda. Anybody who loves the country, you're a fascist, or anybody who loves the country, you're a white nationalist. You have to conform to the way we think. Oh, so you're a Christian and your values make you feel like you can't support third trimester abortion. You know what you are? You're fascist. You mean tactics like that? Instead of, let's stick to the first, second, and all of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the amendments, all that stuff. Let's stick to those things and allow you to think like you want to think, be an individual, leave people alone, make as much money you want to make and can make, and pursue the American dream. You mean like the things that Trump is talking about? Like keeping your guns, but yet y'all want to take them away? Like supporting freedom of speech where you guys are determining what hate speech are? You mean like those things? Because those things sound more fascist to me that your party supports. Hey, forgot it's trash day. I should run off right now and go take the trash out. Y'all be like, how long is he going to be gone? Sorry. I'm pretty sure old man Teddy took it out. Anyway, so now to close up this definition, it goes on to say, severe economic and social regimentation. You mean like the Green New Deal, who would control all of our economics, and all of our social freedoms like that? You mean me? Because I'm just thinking out loud. And then it says enforceable suppression and opposition. Now, Trump don't seem like he's oppressing anybody. In fact, he supports a lot of things that stands in the way of true oppression, not the made up type of oppression that they're talking about, because Trump decides we got to stop this chaos and rioting and stuff like that. Not that type of oppression. I'm talking about the type of oppression that shows up at your job and says shame. They follow you around if you don't agree with them. They make sure you can't host the Oscars like Kevin Hart until you submit and apologize for all of that. Yeah, that type of oppression. See, comedians, if they say anything to defend certain groups, oh yeah, you're done. That type of oppression. Yeah. Now, let's finish up with these bums because there's a little more propaganda I have to expose. Let's see where we at here. Yeah, fascism.
It is the symbol of, visually, he, I think, imagines that power looks like unidentified men in full combat uniform in front of the Lincoln Memorial with the columns, right? That even the architecture of it lends itself to this sort of fascist image.
Right.
So, let me get this straight. It's what Trump envisions power looks like, the military and all that stuff. Okay. Now, what I see are pictures of hundreds and hundreds of people dressed in black that I'm able to say, this is what anarchy looks like. This is what chaos looks like. This is what violence looks like. This is what rioting looks like. This is what looting looks like. This is what an out of control society looks like. This is what lawlessness looks like. All of those visuals. And then when you see something that represents some type of structure, discipline, some type of laws, those things now become fascist. It's not a response to the violence and all of those images that we see that caused Trump to say, y'all won't handle this. And all of those people in those neighborhoods that's being victims of this saying, where's the help? Somebody help me. I'm elderly, or they ruined my business and I'm black. They shot my dad, left him laying there bleeding to death. All of those helpless victims that are recipients of these true fascists that's running around telling you, shame, and breaking your windows out and making you conform and telling you bend the knee or else. The true fascists are doing that. And Trump says, somebody needs to stop this. To me, that sounds like the responsibility of a good leader and a president that's showing chaos, that we will not tolerate this. That's what it sounds like. But they can't let y'all think like that. They got to go ahead and assign the worst thing to it. It's fascism. I'm going to go ahead and finish destroying them, and then we're out.
I think it looks like Black Hawk helicopters hovering over protesters. It looks like tear gas. It looks like overwhelming force.
So we're going to tell you.
It sounds like overwhelming force as well. He perseverates on the word dominate on him.
Now, you know what that looks like? An out-of-control angry mob who just the day before tried to storm the White House and came back for some more. That's what that looks like. It looks like a crowd of people who don't know what a peaceful protest is and could potentially threaten the president of the United States and need to see a clear message that not here, not today. You understand that? This is the type of rhetoric and behavior that has started creating these type of people right here. This young generation who they started them off real young, telling you your teacher shouldn't paddle you and you shouldn't be given some type of, detention for your behavior. You're just expressing yourself. You all deserve trophies. There shouldn't be people who excel beyond you because what they are is they're suffering from white privilege. And you know what? They're capitalizing upon all of your oppression and stuff like that. Let's go ahead and make everybody start embracing real socialism and fascist behaviors or ideology by letting them know we're all on the same playground. We're all on the same playing field. Even if you sucked and set the bench and never hit the field, you deserve a first place medal as well. See, That sounds more to me like ideology of fascism, socialism, communism, stuff like that. Now, let's continue.
In his phone call with governors, he talks about sending in the military.
Okay.
Does he know that that is fascism? Does he care? It doesn't matter. This is his idea of power. He has signaled this many times before. He has expressed his...
Now, you understand that? He doesn't care. He's sending those people in from the military simply because he enjoys it. He's sitting back in the White House like, tell me what's going on out there in the streets. Well, Mr. President, everybody's out there peaceful. They seem to be singing Kumbaya and holding hands. And they're simply expressing their inner feelings about what took place with George Floyd. That's it. That's it. Or, you know what? I don't support peaceful protesting. What we need is to bring in the military for these peaceful protesters and Black Ops helicopters and just light their tails up with tear gas. Because protesting peacefully bothers me. It bothers me. Or could it be, and I'm just thinking out loud, could it be that the governors didn't do their job to protect their citizens from these angry protesters and instead sided with them, gave excuses for them, and became an enabler, and in some cases kneeled down and bowed before their demands. And because of that, the innocent people of the community is looking for help and support from their local government. They can't get it done. And they're like, somebody else, we need help. And because this little skinny man and the guy who's pushing the propaganda from MSNBC isn't in there getting bottles thrown at them and their houses right now are being ramshacked and all of that, they're sitting up here going that the military shouldn't come in. Yeah. But I guarantee you, if folks was breaking in their house and you seeing people out there with fire bombs and stuff like that, you would be saying, where is the police? Somebody come here and stop these fools and save my life. And if you can't do it, send in the National Guard. Send in the president. But when he does that, because this doesn't affect them and they got an agenda, he's a fascist. And that's the only reason he's bringing in the National Guard.
Endless admiration for the autocrats of the world. And now he's performing this, he's making a claim to this kind of power. And a power grab always begins as a performance of
Now, what kills me is these same hypocrites who's pushing the same agenda, who is projecting all of this on Trump, okay, talking about he's showing this display, okay, all of that stuff. So let me understand this. The display that is being put on across all of America in cities where they're looting and rioting and trying to force people to capitulate to their demands, that's not a display. This violent, unpeaceful riot is not a display. No. That's not a signal to all of us law-abiding citizens that, hey, it's either our way or the highway. That's not a display. What really is a display is Donald Trump calling in the military to give those peaceful protesters a warning that you better cut it out. That's a display.
There's always a claim made, and if it's accepted, if the performance is believed, then it takes hold. And
you mean like the claim that you all suffer from white privilege? And you know what I need you to do, miss, who I never met, don't know your background? I assume that you have white privilege and hatred and racism on the inside. I need you to kneel and confess your sins of all the racism that you weren't a part of, but confess that right now. That sounds like we want y'all to capitulate. Not what Trump is doing. He said, let's just restore law and order and let you go on about your business to make money, to leave people alone, all that stuff. But according to this skinny little man with these oversized glasses, he doesn't think that's what's going on. He thinks Trump is doing it just to show everybody, man, I've been waiting for an opportunity like this to show that I'm really a fascist dictator king / sultan / not just the president. I'm a sultan king prince / demigod and all the other things that I'm really not saying I am, but y'all are telling everybody that I am.
That critical moment now.
What you said about his belief clearly in this is, I mean, what's striking is that the president, I don't think, believes in a lot of things other than that people should talk about Donald Trump. Yeah, but this is one of his beliefs. This is an interview in March 1990 about Tiananmen Square. Now, you couldn't really find a bunch of Americans on the side of the Chinese Communist Party when it came to Tiananmen Square. But in that tiny minority was Donald Trump saying, when the students poured into Tiananmen Square, the Chinese government almost blew it. Oh, okay. Then they were vicious. They were horrible. They put it down with strength. That shows you the power of strength. Our country is right now perceived as weak, as being spit on by the rest of the world, basically saying what we need more is more Chinese Communist Party tanks rolling into Tiananmen.
Now, wait a minute. I was totally pro-Trump until this guy read this statement. And I said, what? Trump supported the slaughtering of all of those peaceful Chinese protesters that were just sitting there and was ran over by tanks. You read this little snapshot of a quote, and apparently that's true. There's no more context to it, and that's how Trump really felt. But wait, whoa. Because I happened to just stumble across an updated opinion about that was not provoked. Nobody asked him, would you like to comment about what took place in 1990? Because let's listen to what he has to say. Now, here he is.
No, I think it'd be very hard to deal if they do violence. I mean, if it's another Tiananmen Square, I think it's a very hard thing to do if there's violence. And, that I'm president, but that's a little beyond me because I think there'd be tremendous political sentiment not to do something.
I see.
So I hope, because I think we're going to end up doing a very good deal.
So wait a minute. So when Trump saw the Chinese government about to go into Hong Kong and kill him and do that, he said, whoa, don't do it, Chief. You ain't going to be doing no violence. That ain't going to be another situation that took place in 1990. But this guy conveniently left all that information out because he wants to leave it in your minds that Trump supports these type of tactics that he clearly doesn't support. And he just said it. But let's finish this up.
He thinks that political power is brute force. Okay. Again, he's made that perfectly clear over and over. But he also thinks that...
Now remember, he's in Trump's mind. He thinks political power is brute force, like the kind that these peaceful protesters are demonstrating as they broke out CNN's windows and tormented the people in the neighborhood. Okay, that's not brute force. That's just simple peaceful protesting. Let's continue.
Protest, and this idea he shares with the autocrats of the world, one whom I covered for a long time, Vladimir Putin.
Oh, here we go.
The idea that
I knew it was just a matter of time before they broke out Pootie, baby. They can't bring up Trump without Pootie. Let's hit her.
Protest is chaos. That protest is the opposite of political power.
Okay.
Because
So y'all hear that? In summary, as Beaker right here finishes up his propaganda, protest is the opposite of political power. Okay, so if I'm getting this correct, those protesters, the ones who did it the right way in Michigan, the ones that these people, along with all of the liberal Democratic leaders, claimed were white nationalists / KKK members and Nazis showing up with guns. And the police showed up and treated them totally different than these peaceful protesters that's been tearing up stuff, burning stuff, killing folks and stuff like that. Those people who were protesting, that type of protest right there, that's not real protest. I mean, when you get up there and you talk about supporting the First, Second Amendment, your right to make a living, and you can't make me stay in the house, that's not real protesting, because none of these people who are so tolerant and so pro-protest supported that. Do you find that a little ironic? When they were doing it, this right here was in direct opposition to these government and these laws that they lay down concerning social distancing, concerning, mask, staying your butt in the house, making sure your face covered. Yeah, you better get yourself in there. And because you got the nerve to want to go to work, Since you got the nerve to want to come out with your gun peacefully on your side, not shoot nobody, not burning stuff, not killing folks. Since you got the nerve to come out here and do that against what we said, we are going to attack your protests and say what you are, white nationalists, racist, Nazis. But these violent / peaceful protesters that are really violent, Trump looks at that type of peaceful, violent protest as this right here is opposition against the government. Opposition against my authoritative image and power and all of that stuff. That's what that is. Yeah. See, yeah, it's not about them destroying property and killing folks. It's about the simple, peaceful protest that they have. It irks me just to see it. Even though I made sure I distinguish between peaceful protesters and violent protesters and said we have to protect the peaceful protesters and citizens from the violent, angry mob that these knuckleheads are encouraging and demonizing Trump from stepping in and putting that mess to an end, but yet they're not fake news. Now, you've been listening to Kevin and Kevin's Corner. Don't forget, check me out every Wednesday night, 7:30 live in Kevin's Corner on Yahoo, on Facebook, YouTube, and my radio blog talk show. Don't forget to check out Extreme Teas, my sponsor. If you like the products, put Kevin in the promo code. You get a 20% discount. Links below. And also, don't forget to hit like, share, subscribe, notification button. Check, make sure you're still subscribed and your notifications are set to all. If you want to donate to Kevin and Kevin's Corner, feel free. There's a link below. And don't be ashamed to do a real peaceful protest that the liberal left would definitely look at as racism, fascism, sexism, xenophobia, all of that stuff. If you support law and order and those pesky Bill of Rights and that just horrific Constitution that they use as toilet paper. They use that as toilet paper. Yeah. So God bless you. See y'all next time in Kevin's Corner.